One last NFL main slate of 2024 to close us out of the year. It's not a great one, but we're going to make it count today as we always do. Of course, we're going to do our final takes video today. We're going to run through projections and ownership on Stochastic. We're going to hop to the world of the ETR, see what they think, and see what the optimal lineups are for your cash games and just in general to pick up some overall trends. We're going to sim some lineups on the solver as well as on Stochastic. By the end of this video, we'll know the final takes of Week 17 here. There's some very obvious ones. This slate has moved around so much, probably more, and granted it's Week 17, not a big surprise, but there's a lot of talk out there about making Week 17 not your fantasy championships out there. I don't know if it's going to happen. You have more of a credible case for that than ever before because of the fact so many guys ruled out. Tua Tagovailoa, doubtful. Jalen Waddle, doubtful. The Miami Dolphins playoff chances evaporating into thin air, so now they're calling off the dogs, as we've expected some teams to do over the last few weeks. Finally, Miami, one of those teams doing it. You also have Tony Pollard not playing. Now, Tyjae Spears, the man in the thumbnail. You might not know his face. He's been huge the last few weeks, and that's with Pollard playing. Today he's playing Jacksonville, and he's also pretty cheap. So lots of things have changed here. We're going to go through it all, and let's focus on the main slate. Hopefully, if they fix the labeling to get things where it needed to go. Also, crazy games yesterday for best ball. I don't know if the T. Higgins game killed me in the big board. I have one lineup where I have Lad McConkey having gone, have Trey McBride having gone, and I have Tyjae Spears and Bucky Irving at RB today, along with some other good wide receiver choices. Jay Daniels at QB. I don't know if I'm dead in the big board or not, but a lot of those games yesterday, the Mims game and the Higgins game, absolute bullshit. Absolutely, they went bullshit, went ape shit, really, but also bullshit for being real about it. Chase Brown told to slide down, then Joe Burrow gets to sneak in a touchdown, then Joe Burrow gets to throw another touchdown, then Bo Nix gets to throw another touchdown. Fucking insane ending to that game that I'm tilting about, as you can tell. But lots of key things going on right now in your best ball tournaments. And the big board, I just don't know if that Week 17 correlation mattered quite as much. And BBM, though, Jesus, Week 17 correlation, that's what you stack those games for. It's everything we talk about. But let's talk about this main slate here. I'm sure people don't want to talk about best ball as much as I do. We got some GMs. We got some good mornings. Appreciate it. Week 17, baby. Yes, indeed. I don't know if you're going to feel that way when you see the whole slate, but let's talk about it. Saquon Barkley, number one. And I will say right away, there's some very obvious lineups you can build that feel really good that I built last night when I saw the Tyjae Spears news and was like, all right, I'm just going to play with this. You put some bucks in there. You put your Calvin Ridley, you put your Tyjae Spears. Lots of ways for this to look very fun with the builds you can make this week, even though the slate itself is gross. That's going to be still hard to pay for Saquon Barkley at 8,600. A lot more people going to go Bucky Irving's way, Tyjae Spears' way. People might not pay up enough here. Main thing, though, it's an issue for Saquon Barkley. What we saw in the second half of last week's game versus the Commanders, if you still have to stop the run with Kenny Pickett at QB, you might get decent results. Now, the issue, as we talked about on Friday, Dallas, one of the worst run defense in the league, averaging about, I think, a 0.12 EPA per run going against them. One of the worst marks I've seen in the last few years of football, just off the top of my head. Giving up 0.12 EPA per run. So basically adding about 1/10 of a point per run play going against the Cowboys D. The Cowboys are bad enough that Saquon can get there, even with Kenny Pickett, kind of allowing teams to close in a little bit more. So Saquon, no issue with him in the projection. The issue is really that you have running backs 2K less, 3K less that feel pretty similar upside. If you want to come over the top to get unique, probably Saquon Barkley's it. Fuck the NFL. It feels like a strong stance. I don't think they've done anything that wrong, but I'm sure you have your reasons. Gally Kush normally relatively even keeled in his comments he leaves. Josh Allen, top projected play. There's a report floating around out there that Josh Allen might put it down on the Jets to make his MVP case one more time. Not sure that I buy that. It kind of depends on the Jets pushing on their side. Devontae Adams was questionable over the weekend. He's going to be going, so that probably helps things out a little bit in terms of the outlook for Josh Allen, just having to play a little bit harder to be in a competitive game with the Jets. That said, the spread right now, it is a 10-point spread favoring Buffalo, which does feel like a little bit more of a James Cook script, a little bit more of a running back script in general. I would say that for Josh Allen, the spot, a player that looks pretty good, but at 8,500, if you want to play the narrative, you can, but you're giving up a lot of money to play a narrative that might not be all the way there. Barkley won't break 80 yards today. All right. I mean, I don't think it's the biggest stand in the world. It's certainly possible. The thing is, like, he can still give you 75 yards, 25 receiving, 2 touchdowns. Like, the usage is good enough there. They're never going to say don't play Saquon. But the main thing, though, is that I think there's a tournament logic to playing Saquon this week because of the fact, like, Bucky, very obvious. Tyjae Spears, very obvious, very affordable. Jonathan Taylor, point chasing that. People are going to do that still. There's a lot of ways to go at RB that are not Saquon. So I think this week is not one. And people are too going to be worried about what they saw last week with Saquon getting shut down in the second half. I think the Saquon ownership this week is a little bit more deserved, whatever he's going to get. Of course, he's probably a little bit underprojected in terms of ownership as well. Because people do jam in Saquon no matter what situation, as long as the Eagles are a favorite. Losing Achane too matters a lot for that. Adams out there, put out there that he wants to catch Rodgers' next TD, which is number 500 for narrative lovers. All right, there you go. Maybe you get one touchdown on Devontae Adams. Your top projected players besides Saquon and Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson at number 3. A man I need in best ball today. Not a good matchup going versus Green Bay. 2 quality defenses on both sides of that game would worry me a little bit, but the game environment you're getting. But, you know, that first game did shoot out. Initially, thanks to Minnesota just beating the shit out of Green Bay. Jordan Love played from behind when they faced earlier in the year. One of the biggest, I think, informative things that we had was Jordan Love throughout the year. But for Mike Evans overall, I mean, for Jefferson overall, I don't know if he's a much better player than Mike Evans. He'll probably be less owned, though. So Jefferson in the mix at 8,300. Mike Evans at 7,500. Needs about 120 a game to keep getting to where he's been the last few years, that 1,000 per year mark. That said, not a lot of weapons left for Tampa Bay. K. Dotton out. I expect Rachaad White to get less work this week after some negative coach speak following the game-losing fumble that he had last week, and the fact he only got 3 runs in that game. So I think for Tampa Bay, you're getting a pretty concentrated, or at least theoretically, pretty concentrated Mike Evans, Bucky Irving offense. If you're not going to Evans, Jalen McMillan going to look a little bit better, but no Sterling Shepard now for the Bucs either. They're really down on options there. So kind of trying to capture that entire Tampa Bay offense versus Carolina could be a logical thing to try to do this week that I'm sure a lot of people are going to be doing when they build lineups. I think there's going to be more Bucky Irving and Mike Evans. Usually you don't see RB and wide receiver together a ton. I think it's going to be a lot in the field this week because they're priced well. They both have narrative reasons going, and they're facing Carolina. Sam Darnold, also top projected on the week, 20.3 fantasy points. Probably the projection I'm buying the least overall in terms of these top guys, but Darnold's been playing well. Obviously, Jefferson projects well enough. If you're going to play Jefferson, you might as well strongly consider Darnold. But to me, as like the top, number 2 QB on the week, the only one behind Josh Allen, I'm not dying to get to Sam Darnold at that point. Rachaad White, Rachaad White shouldn't. Again, I just mentioned what do we? I don't know how far behind you are, but I literally just said, why not Rachaad White? Data sheet helped you 5x yesterday. Thanks, Spags. Our guy, Robert Griffin III, finished first in a tournament for $1,000 using some of the plays I talked about. Honestly, that Saturday slate, I think I nailed harder than any slate I've had in a while. I wish I had just done what I normally do, which is lock the guys on ETR and sim around it where I put in my favorite receivers. But I was like, it's a short enough slate. I don't really want to do it. I did a few lineups with Higgins. Who did I have? Higgins. I didn't get Mims in lineups. McConkey, Lad McConkey, I was so big on. He had the monster day of them all. But yeah, for like yesterday's slate, shout out to Robert Griffin III taking the plays to turn him into something real. But I got receiver probably more correct on that 3-game slate than I did at any point. Anyway, your top values, Bucky Irving going to be one of them, I would assume. Let's see. Tyler Huntley now a top value. We've seen this story before, but a 4K salary for Huntley playing Cleveland. The Miami offense, you should expect to be overall much worse. Let's see if their totals moved. Totals down a lot. Wow. So they were at 22 points, 22 and change a couple days ago. Now with Tua being downgraded and also Jalen Waddle seemingly not going to play, a 17.8 implied points for Miami. So they're getting the full knockdown compared to where they were earlier in the year. Would think that for Tyler Huntley, the price tag's going to be appealing for some people. He's just been so bad on the year. It'd be hard to really go there at any volume. You want to play some Huntley, you can. Cleveland's defense is bad enough. They're playing DTR on the other side, but really that game should just kind of be ugly, one would think. So it's really windy in Cleveland. I mean, that probably doesn't help the total either, but I think really the fact you have Huntley versus DTR is kind of the main thing that drives that game environment down. Tyjae Spears at 5,400, probably one of the best running back plays we're going to have. I mean, honestly, might be one of the best value plays we've had this entire year. Spears, last 2 games, over 20 fantasy points, and that's in half PPR. Now you're getting Tony Pollard out. Spears, always a little bit of an injury risk. The knee things people know about from when he came into the league. He doesn't have an ACL in one knee, just his knees are rubbing together. You can always get him getting banged up. He's also a smallish guy, but he's such a good runner. I mean, Tyjae Spears overall, at least visually, is that kind of guy. Analytically, honestly, still good. Negative 0.07 EPA per pass. Excuse me, 0.07 EPA per pass. Negative 0.07 EPA per rush. That's a little bit less good. 20% avoided tackle rate. 0.9 intended red zone touches a game, but he should also absorb the 2.5 that Tony Pollard leaves behind. I like Tyjae Spears a lot. He would fit the criteria of a guy that I'd be willing to go to in really heavy amounts because he's had good work before. Again, we're going off 2 straight weeks. The issue is like he's been playing well for 2 straight weeks. People see the box scores. They'll see he's now even cheaper and no Tony Pollard in there. So like he probably gets to 45% owned, I would say, on the slate, no matter what the ownership's going to show you in a moment. I'm pretty good at pinpointing these down on some of the guys that I think the ownership projections don't quite capture public enthusiasm. I think Tyjae Spears is your super chalk, even chalkier than Bucky. But I think one of the best plays we've had at a $5,400 price tag at RB again this entire year. Joe Flacco, no AR. That was a big change. Him and Chuba Hubbard getting ruled out were the big 2 things that pivoted from Friday. For Sam Darnold, Joe Flacco, I'd rather have Darnold, I think. But it's Joe Flacco here under 5K salary facing the Giants, putting one more big game on tape. And that's something that we talked about on Friday a little bit. People sometimes go, oh, these teams, like, what are they playing for right now? It doesn't really matter. A, the Colts still technically playing for a playoff spot, I believe. B, Joe Flacco playing for a next contract. Like, he needs to prove he can stay in the league. So him being out there trying to sling it one more time, he wasn't that good earlier in the year. Your opportunity will be there, though. So for Joe Flacco at 4,900, I got taking the shot. Downs, Pittman, going to be your most natural targets with him. Does probably hurt the overall offense a little bit, but he's cheap enough to take the shot for stacks. Darnold is still a top value at 6,400. Josh Downs pairs well with that Joe Flacco. I imagine we're going to get those guys a little bit in the sim, and the optimizer we're going to run in a moment. And that's how that looks overall. Shout out to Robert Griffin, the turd here for the chat. Dealer tip for your appointment TV. More ducats of appreciation coming to 25. Still ejaculating us. Thank you for putting ejaculating in the tweet. I had to retweet this morning, but shout out again. Ross has put in the work as much as anybody I've had on the channel here in the last few years and picking up a first place win. Really excited to see for him. So shout out to Ross picking that up yesterday. Of course, Robert Griffin the turd. His government name is Ross, but we don't say that here on the stream. Besides that, let's look at the top positional players. Again, it's not a loaded slate here. We've obviously had a ton of games this week, so keep that in mind. All right, let's go here. Top QBs, overall projection. Josh Allen, number 1. Sam Darnold, number 2 at 20.3 fantasy points. Baker Mayfield, number 3 at 19.5. Jordan Love, number 4 at 17.3. Bryce Young, number 5 at 17.1. I feel like for Bryce Young here, the main thing we're looking for is that he's probably picking up a little bit more rushing upside from not having Chuba Hubbard out there. The Panthers backfield expected to go Mike Boone's way, who we didn't even look at here. I don't think he projects that well, but I think Bryce Young getting a little bit more work in terms of the run game, maybe some more red zone opportunity seems most likely because Chuba's been such a key part of that offense overall. Where's Boone at? They've got Boone really low, 9.3 fantasy points. I don't think that Boone gets the full Chuba workload, but all the beat reporters have said it's Mike Boone week, so it's going to highlight him really fast amidst the RBs. Besides him, most of the guys we talked about already at RB, Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor at 20 fantasy points. People going to point Chase's big game last week. Important to keep in mind that number 1, that came with AR, which does help kind of pull some attention away from Jonathan Taylor. Number 2, Jonathan Taylor's workload is pretty good, but he was also trying to make up for the fact he fumbled just outside the end zone the week before, so a little bit of narrative was going his way last week. You can go to Taylor, give the matchup versus the Giants, but I think he ends up a little bit higher on than he probably would be normally at a $7,900 salary. Aaron Jones Sr., not his child, $6,200 salary for Aaron Jones at a 19-point projection. I'm not buying that one. I think it's an okay matchup for sure. Obviously, an RB, it's a tough defense, always something we're willing to go to. Generally prefer it to be more of a power back than kind of a check down, shifty back like Aaron Jones still tries to be at his age. That said, for Aaron Jones here, he'll be owned a decent amount at 6,200. I'd rather have Tyjae Spears, rather pay up and get Bucky Irving, but I'm not going to be unique in that. Devon Achane here, the projections come down quite a bit to 17.5 fantasy points. This is a worse environment overall for the Dolphins going into that situation now with no Tua Tagovailoa, but we saw that all year. Mitch, you got to be a paying member, and it's linked in the community tab if you are a paying member. So if you join down below for $4.99 and then you go back to the channel page and you click community, you'll see it there. But I updated it yesterday morning, gave it out to people. So that's one of the perks every week is that you get my data sheet with all the stuff I pull in from Sports Info Solutions, stochastic data, not their most updated projections, but kind of give you a general overview. So yeah, $4.99 down below. You get a Discord, my data sheet every week, and a premium video from me where I run through my data sheet going game by game. Top wide receivers right now. We got Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, number 2. Talk about those guys. Brian Thomas going to be chalky. People chasing that game. Price tags coming up in DFS. Still a good play, but I do think he's getting priced out a little bit. Still game stacking Jacksonville, Tennessee, one of my favorite things to do on the week. Mason Rudolph wins someone $1 million. I don't think that's a crazy thought this week. I like that game environment. So you won't hear me talking you out of Brian Thomas Jr. I am certainly hoping he pays off in best ball, DFS-wise. Not sure how it's going to go. A.J. Brown, 16.5 fantasy points for him. Bit of a downgrade with Kenny Pickett at QB. That said, A.J. Brown could still get there. Devontae Smith could even still get there. I think playing the passing game there vaguely appealing because Dallas is so bad, so hapless, and they probably want to give Pickett some shots to get production going. Frankly, you have to pass just to keep things honest for Saquon. So A.J. Brown has a shot, just really shitty QB play going with them. Devontae Adams, 15.9 fantasy points. Malik Neighbors, who will be going today, not too far behind. Hard to trust Neighbors. Drew Lock starting. Never something we want to see, really, at this point. Pickett seemed locked in on A.J. Brown. That's true. Wasn't good targets, but it was a good amount of targets. Tight end plays. Brock Bowers, your only hope to compete with Trey McBride in best ball. 18 fantasy points for him, facing a New Orleans team that's hapless. Not the highest total in this game. New Orleans and Vegas both implied for under 20 points, so not shootout situation. You want to talk about situations that we look at sometimes where that Denver-Cincinnati game was a really high total for Denver, and to the point where I mentioned, I was like, God, it seems like they're expecting another shootout. First half didn't look like it. The matchup itself didn't look like it. They got through the second half. Expect the inverse for Vegas, New Orleans, where the total is so low, even if there's early production, even if they're kind of slinging it around, probably comes back down to earth and the game gets ugly later on. But that said, for Bowers, he's one of the key weapons. He's one of the best tight end plays in the slate. And he also gets you away from a lot of cheap tight ends that are certainly valid this week. Bunch of guys under 5K, some guys under 4K. Brock Bowers and Jonnu Smith, one thing that hasn't changed since Friday. They're both paid up to be contrarian options that look pretty good. Shout out to S. Mitch here. I guess I got to do a thing. Welcome to the family, S. Mitch. Go check your community tab on YouTube. I know what you wanted, but go check it out. My data sheet is something I use myself here. I've used on stream for years, but welcome to the family, S. Mitch. Mwah, kisses, etc. All right, we'll do the Italian stereotype briefly, but appreciate the membership, though. And, of course, join down below. It does go a long way for me here. I'm just one guy doing an NFL channel, an NBA channel, and seemingly providing a bit of an edge for you guys, hopefully. It's other top tight ends. Hockenson, number 2. Big chasm between Brock Bowers and Hockenson. Number 3, Ferguson, 11.1 fantasy points. We'll see how chalky he is. No CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys. Probably a lot of checkdowns going Ferguson's way. He still does have guys like Schoonmaker, Spanford taking some work away from him. But Ferguson's probably your number 1 target for Dallas now. The issue is they're implied for less than 15 points. Where are they at now? Oh, they got up to 15 flat. They were at 14.8 yesterday, but now up to 15 implied points for Dallas. Awful total for the Cowboys going into Philadelphia. Dalton Kincaid at number 4. I haven't played Kincaid very much this year. I don't really have a case to be made for him. He projects decently enough. Allen might put on his MVP showcase. I don't know. That's probably the main argument for Kincaid. Chig been playing well lately. They talked about it basically being a necessity thing because them playing from behind. Chig, though, they've said earn the targets. I probably wouldn't point chase Chig here, but at 3,600, you could. The matchup versus Jacksonville is just so good. And clearly, he's your number 2 target right now, practically for Tennessee, where it's Ridley getting a lot of great work. As we talked about with Mason Rudolph at QB, he's basically getting a top 10 wide receiver workload in pretty much every facet, probably closer to top 3 in a lot of ways. For Chig, he just kind of benefits from that attention going Ridley's way. So no issue with Chig, but it feels a little point chasey to me. And real fast, your defenses. You got Dolphins projected the most highly here going against DTR. The main issue that they're going to have is now without Tua out there, you're going to probably see that Dolphins defense on the field a little bit more because Huntley just can't sustain drives quite as well. But Dolphins D going against DTR. DTR, as we talked about on Friday, terrible in every situation, terrible under pressure, terrible throwing the deep balls. He's inaccurate. He can run a little bit. That's basically the main thing here. But an ugly game, DTR taking sacks. Dolphins D going to be your chalk of the week. Colts D going against the Giants. Drew Lock can fuck up at 3,500. A little bit less of a good value than the Dolphins, but still a valid play to go to. Jaguars D versus Mason Rudolph. I don't see it. Jaguars are a good defense to attack every week. Mason Rudolph has been really competent at QB. If we had Will Levis, I'd say, yeah, take some shots at the Jags, but at 3,000, it's not cheap enough to go there for me. Bucks D, 3,400 versus Bryce Young. You are talking about a mostly depleted Carolina team. You still have the receiving core there. Thielen, despite people's worries on Friday, everybody's like, Thielen's going to be out. He's playing. He wasn't even on the final report. Thielen playing, Leggett playing. You still have Coker out there, David Moore. No Chuba certainly hurts things, but they could probably cobble together a workload. Like, I don't think Chuba, despite how good he's been this year, I don't think he's a special talent. I think they could cobble together some fractional amount for Mike Boone and Raheem Blackshear. Maybe Miles Sanders being active today too. I don't know if that's going to work out or not. He was limited in practice in his return from IR this week. But Bucks D, you can make the case more than you could before, I think, with Chuba being in. Chuba being in made him an interesting play and leverage against the Bucks stuff. Right now, with how Carolina's going to be left without Chuba, you can take a shot on the Bucks defense, but 3,400, not getting a lot there. Bills D at 3,600. Not expecting that to be the game environment, but the Jets, not a high total this week. Certainly, they're not playing for anything. It could be a sloppy mental game. You've had Adams banged up all week, so that's what we're looking at here. Hey, shout out Lundar. Welcome. I have to keep doing the stereotype voice. Welcome to the family, Lundar. Appreciate you being here as well. Again, VIP Discord, my data sheet on the community tab on YouTube, and also premium video, which is probably less relevant now, but every Friday I do a premium video. So welcome to the family, Lundar. Thank you for joining. Glad to see some joins here. People using their Christmas money wisely. All right, let's go to ownership. Spent enough time luxuriating. This is a weird slate, guys, so probably a little more time up top here than usual, but feels necessary on the slate. Your top owned plays loading up right now. Let me take a sip of water. We got Bucky Irving, number one, 41% projected ownership. So not too far off from where I would think. I do think Spears gets a little bit higher than Bucky. People are going to be excited to play Bucky. I think people, too, are probably going to see the box score thing. Notice Rachaad White not getting that workload and, again, fumbling to cost them the game versus Dallas last week. You do have a faint chance here that Bucky sees the normal workload and Rachaad White's still in there because the Bucs have had a hard time not playing Rachaad White. But really in this spot, don't expect Tampa Bay to be playing from behind, which is more of a Rachaad White game script to be in there for pass protection and some pass game work. If they're just going to run the ball here, and again, you're seeing season low rushing last week for Rachaad White. I don't know why it wouldn't be Bucky Irving getting more workload than usual here, but projection-wise, I think people would probably say you still expect it to be relatively the same. So keep that in mind, but Bucky, to me, I think a smash play. Tajay, smash play. I don't know how you're not with the field on these guys, if not above it. Saquon, they have a 36%. So a little bit surprised to see that. I think people may be less willing to pay for Jefferson in that matchup versus Green Bay, but Jefferson has a couple big box score weeks as well. You know, put up over 30 fantasy points last week. So people chase that a little bit, but 26% for Jefferson, 36% for Barkley. Seems like there's going to be enough money to spend up for these guys, and people will do it a decent amount. Honestly, might be people paying for Bucky and Spears to get to Barkley and Jefferson. So if you don't play a guy in that range, or I guess you go over the top and play Josh Allen, that might be a unique tournament play. There's a lot of ownership for Barkley, 36% for him and over 25 for Jefferson. I would not have expected that. Aaron Jones, 31%. That one I really don't buy. I think Bucky and Tajay might be above 50. There's just like no chance that Aaron Jones is going to be a third of the field owned. I don't think that's possible. If I had to guess, you see a lot more concentrated on these guys, a lot less Aaron Jones. Maybe he's 20%. I think 15 to 20 would be more likely. But I think Bucky and Tajay are probably 50 to 60, just based on looking at these numbers. This seems like a lot of Saquon. Seems like a lot of Saquon and a lot of Aaron Jones in their estimates here. Josh Downs at number 5. Again, a little bit of a bump with Joe Flacco in there, though Downs has really been the one guy that's targeted well by Anthony Richardson as well. No issue with Josh Downs under 5K salary. He's been a good play for the most part. So he fits, I would say, for the most part, for sure in your lineups. Mike Evans at number 6, 30% owned. Jefferson, 25. Brian Thomas, 25. Brock Bowers, 25. It's a lot of Brock Bowers. I think people pay down more at tight end. Dontavian Wicks, no Christian Watson today. It's going to help him out a little bit. Also helps out Dobbs. Also helps out Jaden Reed a little bit. But the workload for Wicks is going to be a lot higher. The route expectation will be a lot higher for him at 3,900. Really nice price tag for Wicks. He's your value guy of the week. Honestly, for a slate that people hated so much, at least the content creators out there, people thought was so gross, Thursday, Friday, whatever. This slate, you have a lot of options to go to, and I think some stuff you can move around as well. Chalk tight ends, Ferguson, TJ Hawkinson behind Bowers. I think Ferguson and Hawkinson get higher owned. I think Bowers a little bit lower owned than the 23% they have for him. Guys a little bit lower owned overall. Jaden Reed under 10%, Kincaid under 10, Mason Rudolph projected for 9%. That's a lot of QB ownership for Rudolph. Payne Durham, I think, is going to be decently owned. People kept asking about him on Friday, which is one of my little things that I sometimes use for myself when a lot of you guys were talking about guys, whether it be other chats as well. I tend to go like, the ownership may be a little bit light for that guy. Payne Durham, just an okay player who's cheap at 2,900, but he's not Cade Otton. I wouldn't go flocking there if that's going to be your core play of the week. Drum Ford under 10% in a gross game versus Miami. Looks a little bit more appealing now. James Cook at 5.5%, a little bit of a cheaper pivot to some of the expensive RBs, more expensive pivot to some of the cheaper RBs. Get a really good game total for Buffalo as well as a 10-point favorite in that one. Aaron Rodgers under 3%. Drew Lock at 2.5. No, thank you. Kenny Pickett at 2.4. Lots of cheap guys here. Ryan Miller is your 3K minimum guy for Tampa Bay. Probably don't want to go there. That's how it's looking right now in Stochastic. Let's go to ETR. Let me log in over here. Let's optimize some lineups and see what ETR Sims have for us today. Where's the... All right, hold on. All right. So stupid sometimes. It's the things that, like, they change their floating menus, and I don't know why. All right, here we go. Not Saturday slate. Sunday only. 8-game slate. Take out any advanced settings. Let's see what the projections we're going to get for us here. Let me reset this. All right, good. Default. So your cash game lineups right now. With really fast ETR data up top. Top projected guys on ETR, Josh Allen, 23.8. Saquon Barkley, 23.1. Justin Jefferson, 21.5. Sam Darnold, 20.8. Baker Mayfield, 20.4. Your top projected guys on the slate. Bucky Irving, not too far behind at 20 fantasy points, 20.2 if you want to be accurate, down to the decimal. Jonathan Taylor, 19.6. Where do they have Tajay? Tajay, 16.2. They're low on Tajay. I'm surprised by that. Yeah, Pollard not in the projection set and Tajay under 17. Okay. Your cash game play right now, Sam Darnold, Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, Brian Thomas Jr., Josh Downs, Michael Pittman. I don't think Michael Pittman's really a cash game play. I get he's cheap enough, projects well enough that I wouldn't play that in cash. Jake Ferguson, Tyjae Spears, Raiders D. This one's more cashy. Darnold, Saquon, Bucky Irving, Brian Thomas Jr., Josh Downs, Dontavian Wicks, Jake Ferguson, Aaron Jones Sr., and Raiders D. That looks like the cash game lineup I would play. Your top guys here, in terms of guys appearing in all 25 lineups, Josh Downs, number one at 100% of all the lineups. So he's going to be a very obvious play. Not the same rules as Showdown here, but if you want to get away from one play, it's going to get into a lot more lineups than he probably should. Josh Downs is going to be that guy. Still don't really have an issue with him on the slate. 50% of these top 25 lineups have Saquon and Jake Ferguson together. A quarter of them have Brian Thomas and Tyjae Spears together. 60% of them have Josh Downs and Michael Pittman together. I would not play that for tournaments today if it's going to be a projection play. That's, you don't want a double stack of a team that's not that good, I think, in your cash games. But both guys are cheap enough. I think people will play them in tournaments, though. Flacco double stacked with Downs and Pittman, maybe in a triple with Jonathan Taylor. I think that would look a little more appealing for a tournament. The two pass catchers with Taylor on top and Flacco, but Flacco stacks, I'm not going to shit on him entirely. I just don't know that the Giants do enough to keep up in that game, but a Flacco stack with a neighbor's bring back would be unique. And that was something before the season started in terms of week 17 matchups. I would have thought it would have been fairly appealing. How's the big board teams doing? I have one that feels okay because it is Ladd, your precious Ladd, and Trey McBride on it. And then I have Jefferson. I don't even know what I've going. I have enough receivers going that could be a Jefferson, Brian Thomas Jr., and Jordan Addison today going are the big ones. The shitty part is that lineup's missing Diggs and Tank Dell in it. But I also have Bucky and Tajay at RB, so we'll see how it goes. But it's not feeling good to not have Higgins, not have Mims, I think is really the main thing. Take a Baker stack. I think still today's slate is tricky. A Baker stack's fine. I don't think it's sneaky at all. People are going to play a lot of Mike Evans. People are going to play a lot of Bucky Irving. Baker's going to come along with that naturally, so I don't think you're really getting a ton on that, but certainly not a bad play. All right, let's put on some variants here. Let's import stack settings. Let's also put a few uniques in per lineup. Let's build 250 here and sim them out in ETR's data, see what we get in terms of the ETR sims. And of course, we'll do stochastic sims after this and try to find out what's the best looking final lineups here. Guys, if you get value to this one, again, I show up here and do the work here Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. on the Splash Play NBA channel, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. Just doing the best I can to give you guys an edge, show you some of the best data and tools and how I'm viewing slates. But please do subscribe down below with the like button. We're on the slow march to 5K subs here. I'll probably get passed by Neil Orfield at some point, but it doesn't really fucking matter to me. As long as we have good views and the subscribe numbers are going up, I'm trying to get to 5K at my own pace. Run your own race is what we learned from Bluey. Please subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash, promo code SPLASH. Stochastic, 15% off. The biggest thing for you, it supports the show directly. I get affiliate fees for it, and you get 15% off of all their data, all their tools at Stochastic. The cheap stuff, the expensive stuff, it's all 15% off. So please click the link in the description. Use promo code SPLASH at Stochastic. Unabated, $30 off if you want better betting data with promo code SPLASH. And of course, I'm just plugging right now because the lineups are being built. And the Solver, link in the description there too. The Solver we did not convert well enough for this year, but they also kind of rip you off on affiliate fees. But please still support them. Great product, worth your time, but maybe click the Stochastic link more. That's what I would say. Blow my nose real fast, guys. Pardon me. Tis the season. Tis the season to have mucus endlessly flowing through you when you have a toddler. I think we can all agree. Chase Brown died for nothing. Chase Brown tilting his shit. Could have used him in one of those lineups in the big board. But also, like, the fact that he slid and then Burrow ran it in was really not my favorite thing in the world. Thank you, Timothy. Good content. I'll take Timothy's stamp of approval. Shout Spags for a rough year, but still grinds every day. Thank you. You're saying rough year for me or for you? I mean, most of this year's had some wins for me down the home stretch in terms of, like, you know, the overall picture of things, but I appreciate it. All right, what are we building here? It's building to the slant because ETR does not create Millie Maker fields or play action fields. Let's see what we have as our top lineups here. Doesn't feel great that the Bengals' piss poor situational awareness broke the slate. I agree. Burrow's been on fire since like week 9. Yeah, but he's on fire because the team is really stupidly coached and the defense is awful. It's really one of those lessons, though, where, like, I thought the Bengals were going to have a year like they're having. They have played so hard, and really they're just going to be fucked most likely by the Chiefs not playing guys next week because they have nothing to play for. Really one of those lessons in fantasy where you can get a team not being good right, you can get the situation right, and still end up getting the wrong payout out of it. But your top ROI players right now, according to ETR data, which you're going to see on the screen right here, Devontae Adams, only 0% exposure overall, but a 90% ROI, so kind of doesn't matter, but he does spike enough of an upside to win tournaments. Ryan Miller to 3K minimum salary. He's now your Sterling Shepard number 3 guy. You still have Rakim Jarrett there. You still have some guys that can rotate in, so Ryan Miller probably worth not more than 1% owned, but maybe he can win you a tournament some fractional amount of the time. Giants D, I don't see that, but Joe Flacco has been error prone. Giants D at 2,300, cheap enough to get in some good players around it. Xavier Leggett, I do think Leggett's kind of interesting as a pivot point to probably a decently played Adam Thielen in a game script versus the Bucs that makes sense to go to a pass catcher. Leggett, tough to trust him based on the projections. So he's hit double-digit fantasy points in like weeks. Let me see. Yeah, I can't pull him up like that. But Leggett, to me, not a priority play by any stretch, but certainly one that I could talk myself into. Now that I clicked Leggett. Okay, hold on. Now that I clicked Leggett, let me get him back off. There we go. Rashad White, positive ROI for him, but only 5% exposure. Payne Durham, ETR likes him, 20% chalky exposure. He's actually your highest ROI guy for a chalk player. So Payne Durham coming in a good amount for ETR. Seems like ETR still has Baker Mayfield, as he did on Friday. 60% plus ROI in Baker Mayfield. And that looks like that's that. Your top lineups, according to ETR. Number 1's a Sam Darnold lineup. Darnold with Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. So paying up at RB, 2 RBs at 8K. So they're trying to move you away from the Bucky Irving, Tyjae Spears chalk. You're getting Calvin Ridley, who again is a smash play versus Jacksonville. He might not get you the ceiling to win a tournament, but like he's probably give you a good shot at 20 fantasy points. If he fails, he's getting you, I think, 15 to 20. He could get you 32 in that spot. Jacksonville is so bad, and Ridley gets really great work from Mason Rudolph. Josh Downs under 5K. He's going to be chalky, but he's fitting in here. You have really chalky receivers, but you've got a little bit different at RB is really the main thing. Addison, Hawkinson seeking in this Darnold double stack, getting leverage on Jefferson. Wicks, Raiders D. Honestly, a really nicely put together lineup. I get why it makes sense. You're getting leverage on a somewhat chalky Jefferson, getting away from the chalk RBs. Why that makes sense to me. Let's see. We got Joe Flacco, Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving. If you just sync your YouTube membership to your Discord account, you'll have it added automatically. Are you playing any blacks here? I wouldn't. I think Boone's the more likely play based on all the beat reporters. So that's that. Didn't know people ate raccoons. They do indeed. They do indeed, especially in the South. Just a bumpkin kind of thing to do, which, hey, cool for that. Thanks for recommendations for the JD5 and Terry all summer. I appreciate that. That is one of my biggest stands. We'll see it Sunday Night Football tonight. Big game. Total's not that great in that one, though. The weather, not fantastic in Washington, at least based on what they were saying yesterday. Your number 2 ROI lineup, a Joe Flacco one. We got Joe Flacco, Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman. So you're getting that Flacco double. No Jonathan Taylor with it, though, like I thought might be the case. Payne Durham. So a Bucs stack without the Bucs QB. Aaron Jones, Bucs D. So really deep correlation in that one. 2 different stacks you got going. Another Darnold lineup at number 3. Darnold with Bucky again with Tyjae Spears. So here's your chalkier version of the first version we saw with Darnold. Josh Downs, Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale looking a little bit less appealing with neighbors in, but still could that get there theoretically. Triple stack with Darnold, Jefferson, Hockenson, Aaron Jones. Man, that's really tough game environment. I really think that one plays down in total. Green Bay and Minnesota, we'll see. Dolphins D fits in this one as well. Your number 3 ROI lineup. Number 4 is Flacco double again. Flacco with Barkley and Rachaad White, trying to get that leverage on Bucky Irving, which I think, again, makes sense projection-wise. Doesn't really make sense with what we saw last week, but we'll see what the Bucs do. Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, Tyjae Spears. So chalk RBs, except you're fading Bucky for Rachaad White. Chalk little Colts stack here with Joe Flacco. Bring back a Malik Neighbors. The Neighbors bring back if you're going to play the Colts stack. I think it's still appealing. Darnold at number 5. Darnold with Bucky, Tyjae Spears, Josh Downs, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Payne Durham, Aaron Jones Sr., and Titans D. It's okay. I think the biggest things to take away are really that the first one here, where you're getting different RBs and a kind of chalky stack approach, but even the chalky stack, you're still fading the chalkiest part, which is Justin Jefferson. This one here, where you're playing the chalky RBs, but you're doing kind of a weird double stack thing with the Bucs and Colts. Definitely interesting teams up top. Here's a Baker Mayfield team. Baker, Saquon, Bucky Irving, Devontae Smith, Josh Downs, Mike Evans, Chika Okonkwo, Payne Durham, and Dolphins D. Having to get weird if you are going to play Baker Mayfield in your stack. Jordan Love team. We got Jordan Love with Saquon, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman. I am shocked you're getting this much Downs and Pittman even in non-Flacco lineups. Really think ETR. I would say like ETR is doing people a disservice, but ETR is definitely going to push people on Pittman a lot more, I think, overall. Tucker Kraft, Wicks, Bucks. We talk about roadkill meats. Raccoon, possum, squirrel, armadillo. It's a roadkill somewhere. Someone eats it. That's horrifying. So as somebody that grew up in the South Bronx, I'm sure there were gross things that went on there, but like South gross is a different level of gross. So I feel bad about it. Hey, more power to you. Apparently it doesn't taste that bad, was what the reports were from the reporters who did try it out. For real, big shouts to Spags for being the most on target content creator during basketball draft season. I appreciate that. I think Christopher's critical of me at times, but I appreciate that coming out in the wash better. So look, I think I do good work for it. I think especially for the big board. Process starts again next week, guys. I don't know how to dance around this one. I think we got to start our rookie previews for QB coming up in week 1 of the year. So it starts again soon, but I appreciate that. Would love a big board payout to hit, but man, the Higgins and Mims of it all. We'll see if we can overcome. Other lineups to note here: Mason Rudolph with Barkley, Bucky, Neighbors, Pittman, Ridley, Ferguson, Aaron Jones, and Titans D. Really would like to get the Rudolph with Ridley. If you're going to do that, put Brian Thomas with us. But that's how it goes. When does Big Board hit? Last year, it was the 3rd week of January, so I presume around the same time. I hope not the first week, because that was it worked out really well last year. I had a few weeks of prep and then kind of hopped in immediately and had somewhat of an edge. It's part of why some of my earliest teams I drafted were the ones that advanced me in the Big Board, but we'll see. I would assume like probably around the 20th of January would be my guess, but I don't know anything inside. Anyway, kind of the same QBs over and over again. Rudolph, Flacco, Darnold certainly a higher priority, Mayfield a higher priority. Here's a Bryce Young team down here. Bryce Young with Tyjae, Bucky, Wan'Dale Robinson, Leggett, Evans, Brock Bowers, Aaron Jones. I'm surprised by the amount of Wan'Dale. A little more Wan'Dale than I would have thought. Hey, let's see what Stochastic has next, guys. That's one sim for you. Of course, ETR is a great product to use. Stochastic, another great one. I really don't have a lean. If you want more of an optimizer plus a sim, ETR is going to give you that. You can lock players in, see how the sims look off that. For Stochastic, you're just taking a pool of 10,000 lineups meant to represent the field and having them compete 10,000 times. So sort of your key difference there. But do check them all out. Again, affiliate stuff does go a long way to support the show, so please do that. Memberships as well, joining down below. And getting all you want now for the memberships, because probably be a second tier coming in 2025, which I have to figure out how that's going to look. But for rankings and stuff, if I do the team review stuff, we're going to have a separate tier for that coming up. So things to plan for in 2025. Big 2025 coming up, guys. But hope you're all having a happy Christmas week. It's a happy New Year. I think the slate looks a lot more fun than it did on Friday. Honestly, I didn't even hate it on Friday, but I don't know. I handled some lineups and I'm like, these are fucking fantastic lineups, but that's not me sniffing my own farts. Usually don't feel that way about hand-built lineups, but probably going to be dupey. We'll see. Let's get this sim going. All right. I think it's a third to first again. Let's see what we get here. It's going to be different than ETR, I would think. Projection sets seem a little bit off. Drake May, Travis Hunter stacks. He's probably not going to play enough of that. I am not live in BBM, live in the big board. Need the breakdown of the game of the year. Atlanta versus Washington at the end. We'll see how that goes. I mean, I'll be watching it intently, but I certainly will not be calm about it. that's the entire thing. Though honestly, at this point, I really need just if people want to know what I'm rooting for specifically today. It's definitely Tyjae and Bucky at RB. I have 61 fantasy points in a big board team that's got a lot of positions that need to go still. Need Jaden Daniels, need Tyjae and Bucky, need Jefferson, Addison, Brian Thomas to go because the rest of my receiver core is dead besides the 25 points I got from Lad McConkey. Tight end, Chig would be okay, but I have McBride putting up 25, so that's that. But honestly, I feel dead in the big board. Big board's tough, man. That I didn't think as many people would have Higgins and Mims still alive there, especially Higgins, but that's it. Jade's going to have to put up like 40, and I'm going to need, I don't even know. I don't know what the pathway to victory is. I don't want to look that closely. Like, I'm not going to be one of those people that checks every team. Like, we'll see if we do well or not. I've already profited this year, so I don't really care. I mean, I care, but like, if I don't have the big hit, it matters less to me than it did last year. I was like really trying to fund probably out of getting one win. For this year, it's like, I've got my stuff set up for the most part, so I'm all right. But it'd be nice to win the big board. Nothing else. You'll see a Chiron with me saying 3-time big board finisher in 2024. That'll be it. And then I'll have, I don't know, 8 finishes overall, 8 finals finishes overall. So that's not bad. We'll have some things to update the graphics before we start the streams, which is the main thing I care about. We got your number 1 ROI lineup, Aiden O'Connell. All right. So Stochastic, different right away. 2 Aiden O'Connell lineups up top. That's surprising. O'Connell, Bucky Irving, Tyjae Spears, Mike Evans, Malik Neighbors, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Jake Ferguson, Giants D. Number 2, Aiden O'Connell, Saquon Barkley, Tyjae Spears, Malik Neighbors, Jacoby Myers, Josh Downs, Brock Bowers, Dontavian Wicks, and Packers D. So really, I mean, they think that you need to fade one of the chalky RBs in each lineup. You're fading Saquon in the first one, fading Bucky in the second one. The O'Connell double stack surprised me a little bit. No bringbacks on it. I mean, New Orleans could be competitive enough that O'Connell passes the entire game. The running backs for the Raiders are not very good at this point, but I don't know if I would want to die on the hill of an O'Connell double. Baker Mayfield at number 3. Baker, Saquon, Bucky, Mike Evans, Jacoby Myers, Josh Downs, Payne Durham, Dontavian Wicks, and Packers. So that Wicks value coming up a lot. Number 4, you have Sam Darnold, Tyjae Spears, Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Wan'Dale Robinson, Dontavian Wicks again, TJ Hawkinson, Saquon Barkley, and Giants D. At number 5, here you're getting a Darnold lineup finally. Darnold, Bucky Irving, Tyjae Spears, Mike Evans, Malik Neighbors, Jordan Addison, Hawkinson, Kincaid, and Giants. I feel like the O'Connell stacks are sneaky on the slate. You're paying a premium for Bowers. Myers is now not as cheap as he's been, so I guess getting there is a little bit more contrarian as well. Not priorities for me, not plays I would love, but there they are. Player ROIs. 3% ROI, positive ROI for Josh Downs, 1% for Dontavian Wicks. Everybody else is negative. Aaron Jones, negative 0.1 or negative 0.7, negative 1 overall. If you're rounding up, Tyler Huntley, negative 1. Tyjae Spears, negative 1.5. Ferguson, negative 1.8. Giants -2. Obviously, this is all the lineups, across a ton of exposure too. So seeing the negative ROIs don't really matter quite as much here. It's just these are the most positive on the slate. In terms of stack ROIs, no QB +1 stack looks positive, but Joe Flacco, Tyler Huntley be the most positive. Aiden O'Connell not far behind that. QB +2 stacks, Flacco technically positive here, 5%. O'Connell a 3% ROI, Mason Rudolph -0.1%, and a QB double, which would include Tyjae Spears and Calvin Ridley doubles, which I think are pretty appealing. QB +3, Mason Rudolph looks the most appealing here, so I guess that would be Chig plus Tyjae plus Calvin Ridley, maybe Westbrook-Ikine plus something. But that's high ROI for Rudolph triples. Baker Mayfield, 8% ROI in a triple stack. Bucky plus Evans plus Payne Durham would be my guess for that. McMillan tacked onto that would also be reasonable. Everything else here negative, but Jordan Love, -1.8%. Darnold, -2%. Top exposures. Thanks for skipping book club. To be clear, it's not my book club, though. I think the next month the spouses are invited, so I might have to read the book James, I believe, which is based on Huckleberry Finn's character. We don't say the name of anymore. Surprise, Aaron Jones projected this well. I am. He's cheap enough. Has a good touchdown, equity or a touchdown expectation, I guess, in most spots. Not the kind of back I'd normally want to play versus a good defense, though, like a Derrick Henry type, a Josh Jacobs type. I'd rather play Jacobs in that same game, obviously, salary independent. But Jones's price tag works. I just would rather, if I'm going to pay that price tag, I'd rather play Bucky. I'd rather play Tyjae. I don't even think that's even with the chalk there, those guys are just better plays to me. Bucky Irving, getting him 66% of lineups compared to the field's 41. So still a good amount of Bucky Irving up top. Got Tyjae Spears at number 2, 58% exposure compared to 38. So despite these guys being so chalky, the sim is telling you get more. I would agree. I think these guys are two of the best chalk RB plays we've had this entire year. Mike Evans, 55%. He's got milestones to hit for that 1,000 receiving yards on the year. Carolina, soft matchup. I think no matter what, you're probably getting decent yardage or a touchdown out of him. Really, the main issue is that Carolina hanging in the game could be a little bit tougher without Chuba. They should still hang in enough, but the total has come down here. People in chat asking about a blowout. Carolina down now under 20 implied points. They're now a 9-point dog. You can't ever predict a blowout in the NFL, especially, but you've gotten that line closer to where a blowout might be more expected than not. Josh Downs, 54% exposure compared to the field's 31. 54% Aaron Jones compared to the field's 31. So a lot of Aaron Jones here. Going to get a good amount of Bucky, Tyjae, Aaron Jones lineups if I had to guess. Saquon Barkley, 43% compared to 38. Brock Bowers, 38% compared to 24. So those are your highest exposed guys, your highest leverage guys, positive leverage. Bucky Irving, they want to get 25% more than the field. Mike Evans, also 25% more than the field. Josh Downs, 23% more. Aaron Jones, 23% more. Tyjae, 20% more. Ferguson, 15% more. And Brock Bowers are rounded up 15% more. In terms of guys they want you to get less than the field, got Justin Jefferson, -12% here. We saw some fades coming on the ETR side. Does seem like stochastic moving away from Jefferson as well. Jordan Addison, less on these Darnold double stacks. Only 2% exposure compared to the field's 13. So Minnesota doubles, not really a priority with stochastic data. Darnold also, -11% on him. Feels going to own Darnold 20%. Feels like a lot. Honestly, I wouldn't want to be there if Darnold's going to be 20% owned either. That's crazy ownership for... It's like Minnesota and Green Bay are good teams. I can't say this enough. I'm surprised by that one being let's stack the shit out of this game. I think that one plays down, and I think the RBs have your best shot at getting there. Jefferson still can, but the whole stack I don't think hits. I don't think Darnold's throwing for 400 yards here. Has the total moved at all? Just taking a quick look at the Green Bay, Minnesota. It is 49 implied points. That's pretty high. Green Bay, Minnesota, kind of like the Denver-Cincinnati game where I really felt like that shouldn't have huge shootout potential, but it still gets there because of the teams involved. I guess the total is kind of screaming that Green Bay and Minnesota do overcome tough defensive matchups for both sides to get there. It is inside too, so that helps a little bit, but I would be on the side of stochastic. I'd fade the double stacks. Jonathan Taylor getting -10% leverage on him. Eagles -8%. Breece Hall -8%. Hockenson -8%. We don't normally do a hand build on the Sunday show, but I'm going to do one here. If you guys have requests to look at different stacks of QBs, we could do that. But frankly, I think we saw most of them because there aren't that many QBs on the slate. Let's do a hand build here. Let me get in the guys that I like the most. This honestly was a team that I would have played, but I'm curious to see how it sims. We're going to do Ridley in first. Calvin Ridley, one of the best plays of the week. Took his 100-plus receiving yards in my fantasy points prop column this week. I'm a big fan of that one. Want to love stacks, but Jacobs, I think, is the best play of it. You have a back who's just going to run it between the tackles against a team that's going to be tough defensively. I think Jacobs is the best play in that game, but that's clearly I'm alone in that, and the tools see in the field differently. Thanks for the handy on a Sunday. I appreciate the implication I'm giving you hand jobs by doing content, but I don't think that's true. Let's put in RBs as well. We know we want Bucky or Uck, as I put in here. Bucky, Tyjae. Who else our smash plays? Mike Evans. Not sure I need Wicks in this lineup. I do like Brian Thomas Jr. I'm going to go his way here for the bring back. There he goes. Lee New before I put it in. Tight end. Can we afford to get to Bowers here? Let's try and do that. Let's go Bowers' way. 3,800 left. I think at this point we have to play Mason Rudolph at QB, which is fine. So that's 5K. Got 3,200 left for 2 spots. I could play a chalky Wicks. No, Wicks we can't afford at this point. We can afford Wicks. We just got to pay down on defense. All right, let's see what we can do here. Panthers D, no. Giants D versus Flacco, getting direct leverage there. I think that's actually kind of fun at 2,300. And now we should be able to get Wicks in. Here we go. Dontavian Wicks. This was not the exact team I built. Now, I forget what I built last night. But a team here, most of the guys that I liked, I don't think I had the Wicks part. Something else is different. I must have had a different tight end than Bowers. I went Brenton Strange. That's why. I went the full game stack. Mason Rudolph, Bucky Irving, Tyjae Spears, Calvin Ridley, Mike Evans, Brian Thomas Jr., Brock Bowers, Dontavian Wicks, and Giants D. We're getting away from some of the cheaper tight ends, hoping that Brock Bowers come over the top and at least outscore them, pay the premium for that. Rest of the lineup I like a lot. Reed's your favorite play this weekend? I'm never a big Jaden Reed guy. Let me see the matchup. How do they do versus slot? Minnesota allows a 49% target rate to the slot. That's good. They play zone 63% of the time. That's good because Reed can't get open versus man defense. Negative EPA to the slot, which is a little bit tough. It's one of the tougher matchups in football. Yeah, I hate Reed less than usual. Anyway, very high ROI on this lineup. 138% ROI. What was the swap I had? I got to think about this. I'm pretty sure it was Brenton Strange and something else. That's one of the high ROIs that we've had built on stream this year. So that lineup works. I think I went Raiders D. Work my way backwards to figure out what I played. Because I love this lineup I built last night. Judy, Breece Hall, Addison, Aaron Jones. This wasn't it either. You know, I must have went Bryce Young. I think I went Bryce Young and Leggett as a single stack with it. But let's put in some of the Sims like Aaron Jones. So we know the Sims like these 3 RBs. Doesn't like the entire team. And again, if you have requests for QBs you want to see, please drop it in the chat now because I'm going to hop back the top lineups here in a moment. But I just wanted a hand build here because I think it's kind of a hand build slate. Browns at home, a lock? The defense? Maybe. 9% ROI in this one. So we lost a lot of ROI going to this team with Brenton Strange. Strange, though, I will say, going back his way, not a crazy thing at all, given the fact that we kind of expect that environment to have some production, not a high total game, but still one where I just don't see how the teams don't produce some passing yards overall. Strange last week had a weird run out because he had a fumble in the first half. They didn't play him the second half. Would assume that after a week of practice, he's going to be back out there getting a shot at first team run. So I'd take that one. But that first team looked a lot better. So that's our hand build. People want to see an O'Connell stack? Sure. I mean, you saw him already. I don't know why you need to see more. But look at O'Connell again. The top 2 ROI lineups for O'Connell ones. So take those. Hold on. Let me go to this tab. Share tab. Yeah, there's your 2 O'Connell teams. Not going to read those again because we read them already. But O'Connell team number 1, O'Connell team number 2 that we read in the beginning. Number 3, Aiden O'Connell, Aaron Jones, Tyjae Spears, Mike Evans, Brian Thomas Jr., Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Jake Ferguson, Raiders D. Main thing is you're getting Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers and all those Aiden O'Connell lineups, it seems. Jordan Love, sure. QB contains love. All you need is love, as we always say. Jordan Love, Tyjae Spears, Aaron Jones, Malik Neighbors, Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, Jake Ferguson, Saquon Barkley, and Giants. Number 2, Jordan Love, Tyjae Spears, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Payne Durham, Saquon Barkley, and Packers. Number 3, Jordan Love, Saquon Barkley, Tyjae Spears, Mike Evans, Romeo Dobbs, Wicks, Bowers, Kraft, Raiders. So QB plus 3, QB plus 2, QB plus 2 with the bring back. Tampa Bay with double Bucky? What? Hold on. Tampa Bay with a double and Bucky, but no Evans. So you're saying 2 Bucks guys? The low total one to me would be Tennessee and Jacksonville. Raiders, New Orleans, maybe. But without Olave there, I don't know New Orleans does enough. Let me try to figure out what Mike wanted. I think you want 2 Bucks. So stack type contains TB 2? No, TB. Fucking the most complicated ask by Mike here. But Mike's a good guy, so I'm trying to give him what he wants. QB plus 2. And lineup does not contain Evans. So none of the top 150. Mayfield with Bucky, Tyjae Spears, Brian Thomas Jr., Ridley, Downs, Bowers, McMillan, Raiders, Baker with Bucky, Aaron Jones, Jefferson, Downs, McMillan, Jefferson, Spears, Buck. So you're getting McMillan in, basically. You're not getting Payne Durham. But honestly, if you're not going to play Evans, it makes sense because basically Evans not making the lineup means he didn't produce enough. Another receiver could get there, and Payne Durham probably not a high enough upside play to get there. So that's sort of nothing surprising there. Josh Allen. You're getting Allen unstacked. Wow, you never see that. Naked Josh Allen, your highest ROI play. Allen, Tyjae Spears, Bucky Irving, Adam Thielen, Josh Downs, Dontavian Wicks, Jake Ferguson, Saquon Barkley, and Packers. Number 2, a QB plus 2 in this one, so stacked up in this one. Allen with Aaron Jones, Spears, Mike Evans, Malik Neighbors, Shakir, Kincaid, Chikakonko, and Giants. Number 3, Josh Allen, Bucky Irving, Tyjae Spears, Mike Evans, Khalil Shakir, Josh Downs, Kincaid, Ferguson, and Colts. All right. Let's look at Flacco. We got Flacco, Aaron Jones, Bucky Irving, Brian Thomas Jr., Josh Downs, Michael Pittman. I have ice in my mouth. I apologize. Dalton Kincaid, Saquon Barkley, and Jaguars D. Number 2, you got Flacco, Tyjae Spears, Bucky Irving, Justin Jefferson, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Jake Ferguson, Saquon, and Titans. So same thing here. If you're getting the double stack with Flacco, you're getting Downs and Pittman. To the brave goes the victory, I guess would be a better way to put that. Or to the victory goes the brave. There's a better expression in there somewhere. You don't play one in Pittman and play Downs. You play Pierce is active, right? He's out of concussion protocol, I think. So you might want to correct me on that if I'm wrong. You practice Friday. Yeah, he's going to play. All right, so Pierce playing. If you went to Alec Pierce instead of one in Downs or Pittman, and a Flacco build were to win it, that would get you unique because ETR is giving you Flacco with Pittman and Downs. Stochastic is giving you Flacco with Pittman and Downs. Obviously, adding Taylor on top is fine, but the stacks are doing that here too. So if Pierce were to hit, you get a lot of leverage on the field, I think. Flacco with Bucky, Aaron Jones, Brian Thomas, Thielen, Downs, Bowers, Pittman, Jags. Nah. So the 3K that filled the biggest tourney ever on DK, I believe that's what people are saying. Yeah, the one with a $3,300 entry. I don't have that much bankroll to throw into a tournament with a bunch of fucking sharps, but if you do, more power to you. If you want to fucking donate to somebody else winning $2 million, go ahead. Who else? Any other QB requests? Rodgers? Sure. Not a lot in the top 150, so maybe a little bit less owned today. Aaron Rodgers, Bucky Irving, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, Brian Thomas Jr., Josh Downs, Brock Bowers. Tyler Conklin gets it in. Not a sexy tight end plan today. There's a lot of good tight end value, but whatever. Jags D. Number 2 here is Aaron Rodgers, Bucky Irving, Aaron Jones, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Jordan Akins, Tyjae Spears, Browns D. Number 3, Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Tyjae Spears, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, Josh Downs, Bowers. Mike Boone gets in. That's fun. Raiders D. Hey, shout out Paul. Paul coming back in. Welcome to the family, Paul. I'm not going to put the hat on, but I appreciate you being here, Paul. Shout out to him. And dropping 300K to max is nuts. If you have enough money to do it, the EV's there. It's just, that's the difference. It's honestly, it's just different worlds. Like for some of those players, like really one I can't relate to. Like even when I've had a big bankroll, I never really gravitated towards the highest dollar stuff. I like just taking my lottery tickets in the big tournaments and then 20 maxing some stuff, mini maxing if I want to get in 150. But different styles like your Leones, a lot of the sharpest players love playing those high dollar tournaments and they do well with them. So your mileage may vary. Like if you're playing this for fun, those high dollar tournaments to me are like the most stressful thing in DFS. And I don't get a lot of joy out of whenever I've played. Anybody else to look at? We didn't look at Darnold. Your Darnold lineups, if you do want to play him, even though Stochastic did have a pretty big fade in him. Darnold, Tyjae, Aaron Jones, Jefferson, Wandale. Dontavian Wicks is a bring back. Hawkinson here, so a triple stack with a bring back. Saquon and Giants. Number 2, Darnold, Bucky, Tyjae, Evans, Malik Neighbors, Jordan Addison, Hawkinson, Kincaid, Giants. Number 3, Darnold, Bucky, Aaron Jones, Evans, Malik Neighbors, Wicks, Bowers, Ferguson, Giants. Last one here, because this is one that I like. Just want to see how it looks. Mason Rudolph here. Good amount of Rudolph lineups in the top 150. He may not be very sneaky, to be honest. Not the way you want to play Mason Rudolph when he's coming up and nobody's going to play him. I don't know if nobody's going to play him today. Rudolph, Saquon, Spears, Wicks, Evans, Ridley, Chig, A.J. Brown, Packers. Rudolph, H.N., Bucky, Brian Thomas, Ridley, Downs, Bowers, Chig, Dolphins. Number 3, Rudolph, Spears, Aaron Jones, Brian Thomas Jr., Neighbors, Ridley, Okonkwo, Barkley, Giants. Oh, you have a ticket to it. If you have a ticket to it, then I could see playing it a little bit more than paying for it yourself. Game stacking, I think is probably what you're going to want to go with there. High dollar tournaments, less smaller field, trying to get the game stack right, hitting a lower own game stack. Usually the way to try to pay that off, at least from what I know. Shout out Mike for gifting away a membership. Appreciate Mike for that. But good luck either way. We'll look at Pickett real fast. All right, Pickett. I'm not worried about the weather in any game. The spread's what the spread is. Oh, here you go. Nolan got a ticket too. Shout out you guys. Hope one of you guys wins it. That'd be fun. You guys are you're facing a buzzsaw, and I mean, Nolan knows what he's doing. I assume both you guys do pretty well too in the thoughts. Draft some good teams. But yeah, it's a tough tournament, man. That's one where whenever you have like some of the sharpest players in the world putting in that much bankroll, I'd be scared of that one. Running Flacco. All right. Flacco, I think you're going to see a lot of those. Well, you're going to see a lot of those stacks in there. Give me game, stack it up. But yeah, Nolan knows what he's doing, so I don't need to tell him. Your Pickett lineups, none of the top 150, and this will be the last one we do here. You go watch some other content after it. Pickett, Tyjae Spears, Bucky Irving, A.J. Brown, Josh Downs, Jalen McMillan, Ferguson, Saquon Titans. Number 2, Pickett, Bucky Irving, Tyjae Downs, Brian Thomas Jr., Devontae Smith, Ferguson, A.J. Brown, Colts. And number 3, Pickett, Bucky Irving, Tyjae Spears, A.J. Brown, Jaden Reed, Pittman, Bowers, Ferguson, Colts. Is there a Cliff Notes? No, there's not a Cliff Notes, Paul. I do a video on Friday going game by game. It's less than an hour if you want to do that, but you just got to be able to go through it. Unfortunately, if you're coming in this time of year, it's a little bit tough to know. Most of the abbreviations should be obvious. Obviously, EPA stuff is expected points, added things about different matchups and situations, but it's sort of the main thing I can give you. I'm sorry. If you want to jump to the Discord, I'll give you some more, Paul, to sync your YouTube account to your Discord. And if you have questions about what a stat is, just ask me in there, tag me in it, and I'll get to it. Let's see. Spags, either $100, what? Either or $100 single entry on DK. Allen naked or Tampa Bay doubles, no Evans. Ladder is more of a tournament play for sure. I think that's crazy. It's not crazy at all. I think it's a good play. Solver likes Darnold, but Stochastic hates him. That's correct. That's all some Cliff Notes. There we go, guys. That's the video for today. I'll give you guys my splash plays. It should be obvious if you just watch the video. Please do subscribe down below, though. Hit the like button, leave a comment. If you got any value in this video, it goes a long way for me here. I'm just one guy making 2 YouTube channels for the NFL and NBA, clearly providing some sort of an edge for whether it be best ball, DFS, whatever we're doing here. I show up and do the work. That's my promise to you. All I ask out of you is hit subscribe, hit the like button, and join down below if you can for $4.99. Check out our affiliates as well. Underdog, $1,000 in bonus cash. Stochastic, 15% off. That one supports the show most directly. Basically, 15% off all their deals, whether it be the most expensive sim packages, their cheap stuff. It's all 15% off. So click the link in the description. Go over there. unabated, $30 off the promo code SPLASH as well. And the solver, link in the description. They give you no money off, and they don't give me enough money, but it's a great product, so check it out. And shout out to all the paying members as well, including the new ones we got added today and the ones this week that I didn't have time to put on. My splash plays of the day, Buck Irving, Tyjae Spears, I think are the best DFS plays we've had in terms of guys' salary. A little bit of scary maybe with the ownership going there, but I think they're just really strong plays. Calvin Ridley, besides that. Mike Evans, besides that. I have very chalky takes this week, but I think this slate, a little bit of an IQ test slate where I want people to show me they can play it all together. So those are the guys I would say I like the most. In terms of sneaky plays, I don't know. I mean, a Mason Rudolph stack doesn't feel that sneaky, but it's less owned than a Darnold stack, which is going to be pretty chalky, it seems. I think fading Green Bay, Minnesota a little bit more is also appealing to me. I get it's a high total there, but I just don't see how it's that high of a total. I get this wrong sometimes because I see the EPA metrics, I see the matchup stuff, and I kind of default to my instincts there. But like these are two good teams that know each other well enough and high stakes as well. Like this is literally kind of like a playoff game for both teams. So I think that plays under. So that's sort of my takes for this one. Raiders D looking good. That's sort of it. Check the chats one more time. People talking roadkill, not normal roadkill. I'm not the only one who gets down with some alligator. Alligator's delicious. I've had that before. That's pretty good. And shout out Running here. Thanks for all your work this season. Thank you guys for watching this season. Look, it's been a long year. I'm the only channel in the space that goes from January all the way through, trying to prepare you for the new year. Also still doing playoff content, playoff basketball stuff coming up soon for here, playoff DFS stuff. I still keep playing, still gambling for all that. So we'll still have content through the Super Bowl, guys. So show some love, subscribe down below with the like button. If I don't see you again, Happy New Year. Of course, I'll keep being here tomorrow for the showdown, whatever else we have this week. Gamble responsibly, guys. Even though it is always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at SplashPlayPod. Thank you for watching. Happy New Year. Happy Week 17. Good luck in your final best ball sweats here. Even if you don't have Higgins, you don't have Mims like I do, you're not alone. So let's make it work, guys. I'll see you again soon. Enjoy your days and good luck. Bye-bye.